Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we've got a top 32 breakdown for the GameTrade regionals in Bologna this past weekend. They had over 1,000 players, 10 rounds of Swiss best of one into a top 32 cut that we see here today. And a couple things before we get started. First, if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the One Piece card game, and I don't want you guys to miss it. Also, if you guys want deck lists for this event or many others, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. We don't currently have the entirety of the top 32, so if you guys have any additional deck list, I would love to add them to the site, so let me know. Also, I've been working on the Latin American events. I think I'm going to get the full top 8 for both of these too, so I'm going to wait another day before making a video for it, but you can check out what I have so far right now, and we did make one for the Carta Magica event that happened. So a lot of One Piece happened this weekend, and I've done my best to catalog it, so make sure to check it out if you haven't already. So in this event too, we do have, again, 1024, 10 rounds of Swiss into this top 32 of 5 copies of Silver Rayleigh, 5 copies of Zoro, 4 copies of Bonney, 3 copies of Teach, 3 copies of Shanks, 3 copies of the blue and purple Luffy, 2 Kuzan, 2 green purple Luffy, and then single copies of Vegapunk, Kalgara, Smoker, Rob Lucci, and Nami. So a good amount of variety, right? I think we had 12 different leaders, and actually I think we have 13 different leaders for this event because I have, I believe, 11 of them. So we're getting a good amount of them. The ones we are missing are the Nami as well as the green and red Smoker. I do not have those deck lists as of writing, so unfortunate for that. I do want to get these eventually, so if you guys know what they are, please let me know. But again, this is the first weekend of the new meta that we have. Not only is it a new set of cards in OP12, but their new restriction list, I think, has opened up a lot of decks to kind of see what is the contender for this format, right? For the Carta Magica event, we did have Zoro win this one. For the Latin American that happened at the same time, we had Anel, and then we had Silver's Rayleigh take this one as well. So just a lot of diversity, and I think there's not like a clear-cut best deck and format. I think if I was to say what color combination's good, I think green with Zoro and Bonney is doing, probably a little bit above average, but nothing like too crazy at this current moment either. So we're going to go over the top placing deck list for each one of these based on the ones that I have as well. Also to note, we had 7 different leaders in the top 8, which I think is insane, right? That's something that's kind of unheard of for this game, to only have one duplicate, and it's the deck that ended up winning. Silver's Rayleigh was first place, and there's one in top 8, which we do not have this build as of writing, but I think that's important to note. And then also, real quick, if you guys want to see interviews with the first place, second place, and many others, you can find links to Luigi's and Testing Hill's YouTube in the description. I really appreciate all the work that they do as well, covering the European scene. And there are a couple deck lists I wouldn't get for this, if I didn't have their help for it. So I really do appreciate that. So also, obviously, Dog of Wisdom and Marco are going to know their deck better than I do, so I trust their analysis. But in case you guys want to hear mine, here's some quick overview. So for Dog of Wisdom, here's his build of Silver's Rayleigh, right? And I think the biggest ad that you even seeing that we don't see all the time is the 2-drop Luffy from OP01, right? This is one of the first super rares for this game. Block 1, OP01, Dawn times 2. This character cannot be KO'd in battle by strike characters. And then activate main. Once per turn, you can give this character plus up to 2 rested Dawn cards. So it's kind of just like a good consistency ad, right? I know a lot of people have been kind of theory crafting this card, but I haven't seen it in practice outright. It's just a card that works out for this archetype, right? It's a 2 cost. The fact that you are able to play it off of this Luffy, right? It doesn't get a restriction on playing Luffy cards either, which is kind of weird, but we're okay with it for it. The fact that it's searchable off like Nami, and then also the Shakuya is also really, really good, being able to get that extra body that you can find for here. It's really easy to make this a 5k, right? Being able to just give 2 rested Dawn to this character for free, right? There's no actual cost for it. Means that this is like one of the few like 2-drop 5ks that exist in this game, right? I know a lot of people have been playing Sanji as well, since you do become a 2-drop 7k when you use this effect, though you do have to be careful about not taking too much of your own life. We do have rush cards in Zoro and the Kid Killer. We've got the general kind of aspect of what the events we were expecting. I think the 2 kind of unusual ones, I don't see Rad Beam all the time, but it is a Straw Hat Crew card that does help you in some spots, so that is good. And then we also have the Gum King Kong Gatling. I don't think this card is unusual, but we only play 1 copy of it, and this is really just kind of like a bulked up version of like the Color of Arms hockey, which we're only playing the 3 copies, so having like an extra copy of this to help us spend 2 Dawn to make a plus 4k swing is really, really good. So I think all this is really understood, right? Silver's is also, I'd say, like the deck construction is only like maybe 20% of the deck or so, and then the rest 80 is like the person who's piloting. There's a lot of different lines. It reminds me a lot of like kind of almost like RP Law at sometimes too, maybe not the exact same play style, but you just have so many small cost bodies that you have so many different play lines, a lot of different play styles, and it's really down to the pilot to find the best way to victory. So I think Dog of Wisdom did that this weekend. Congratulations for their first place finish, and here is their build there. Next up, we've got Vegapunk. So this is Marco's version of the deck, and this is definitely, I think, no one's bingo card for, you know, getting into the top cut, let alone getting second place for this event. So I think this is a really huge accomplishment, and Vegapunk just kind of ends up placing weirdly every once in a while, especially I think at the beginning of some of these formats. So we did get some, I think, generically good yellow cards into this format, specifically like the Kuma, which I don't think it'd be outrageous to have, at least lore-wise, Kuma and Vegapunk work together, but you know, we're not playing in this one just because I don't think we really need that healing as much, and we're just kind of focusing on the general package of it. So this deck is really good at kind of establishing these 5-drop bodies that have 6k power. So that generally means like the Shaka, the Pythagoras, the Monkey.D.Luffy, as well as the Atlas. We are playing like 2 copies of the Eustace Captain Kidd for just kind of some burn damage, but generally speaking, this is just kind of a weird like rush deck that's also kind of obnoxious to get the final hit for, right? The fact that our leader lets you heal once per turn if you need to is really good. The fact that we have all these good bodies, I just feel like in this meta right now that it's just a little bit difficult for a lot of decks to, you know, get rid of these cards on curve, right? A good Gravity Blade can put you back into the game, I think, against it as well, but it's just a deck that's in a kind of obnoxious spot, especially if you don't know how to play against this deck. And I think that this is kind of a unique build because of that, right? When you look at a 2-life leader that can't attack, you're like, something's good gotta be going on with here, and being able to play out your bodies. Also, the Rayquaza help with the Vegapunk like semi loop here is so obnoxious. It's very easy for this deck to have a lot of blockers. It's really hard to pressure Vegapunk when they're at 0 life because they're almost never at 0 life, and it's just going to be very grindy to get over this too. So I think this deck is interesting right now. I'm not sure if it's going to get another top in this format. It's really cool to see that it did though, and congratulations to Marco for their finish there. Make sure to go over their video. They're going to go way in more depth than what I did here. So there it is. All right, next up into the top 4, we've got Marshall.D.Teach. So this is Angelo's build of the deck, and I think in general Teach has been a little bit better in average in this format right now. I think like it's been viable since it came out, right? I think OP09 is probably the weakest meta it was in though. It didn't really do much in that, and then OP10, 11, and now 12, I think it's been getting some really solid consistent tops in this meta as in general. So some things to note for it is that some text I've been seeing people play more often. We've got this Shiryu. This is a card that came on OP10. I know a lot of people played it in OP10 and then kind of rotated off of it, but this is really good in this current meta. The fact that it also has like a hard time to you know, Zoro has a hard time interacting with a 7k body on their turn because of that. Like they can attack 8k into it, but a simple 2k gets you out of it, and now you have like this 5k that can just keep pressuring you every turn, which I think is really important. So other than that, I think people are playing mostly the same package. I think there has been like a bit of a decision if you like this 7-drop Marshall.D.Teach. I don't think the card is bad, but it just is, do you need this much of a removal card for the deck? I do really like if you can ever get like your Von Augur and Marshall.D.Teach loop right. Just being able to get rid of one body a turn, unless they have protection, but like this gets rid of a 6 cost or less every turn, and then you can get some additional like range if you play a second Von Augur. You're able to get that additional like minus there, so you can get rid of a 9 cost. It's just really good. So another thing that I've really noticed is that most people are playing 3 copies of Marshall.D.Teach. Used to be definitely like a 4 of, and I think in most builds, but with the amount of interaction that's going on, and also I think that this card has more answers than usual right now. It's not as much as like the iron wall that it used to be when it came to like removal or like preventing your opponent from winning the game. So I think there are a lot of like 10 Dawn turns where playing 10-drop Teach is not the best move right now, and because of that there is like more flexibility with the pieces that you're playing, and you want to be open for those, you know, alternative play lines. That includes even 2 Dawn open for Black Vortex, which is good against Zoro. We also do have like the 6-drop Kuzan blocker, which again is good against Zoro. Like half the attacks in this deck I think are mostly because Zoro is really strong, and that we want to be able to maximize our chance against that deck when it's likely one of the most proper popular leaders into this format as well. So other than that, we've got some removal cards. I know some people have been playing Finger Pistol again. We do just have the Black Hole and the Liberation. So a little bit of a more unique ad, I think, of this Liberation ad at one, but not unusual, and that is the build there. So this is the build from Angelo, and congratulations for their third place finish with the Marshall.D.Teach. Next up, you got Bonney, and so this is Giovanni's version of the deck, and this is one of the more unique builds of Bonney, and it's really cool to see that I got a top 4 finish in a build in an event that's just this large, right? Over 1,000 players, and this was able to get a 4th place, or top 4 finish rather. So in general, we're playing more of the Fishman Island package. So I think the biggest card that we want to play is this Vanderdecken, right? You can trash 1 Fishman type card for your hand, or the Ark of Noah, and then if you do, you get to KO one of your opponent's rested characters. So a 2-cost removal in a deck that's already, resting a card every turn, I think it's very, very strong. It's any Fishman type card, so it can include Vanderdecken, but we also do have the add of the Jinbei 2K, the Karamatsu 2K as well, which is just a 2K that just has good stats and good traits, right? We've got Fishman, Lanawano, and we have a slash packet, trait 2. All of this stuff is just really good, that it's just been generically a weirdly good 2K to exist in this game right now in general. We're playing 1 copy of Arlong, which is really great against Zoro specifically, preventing them from attacking with their leader, which is pretty much the entire reason you play that deck, so I think that's cool. And then obviously 4 Hody Jones, because again, it's just a good card already, and being able to get the Vanderdecken discard is as well. So it's interesting to see that this package kind of popped up with it, especially since we're not playing any 1-drop Bonney searchers in this deck. There's no consistency tools outside of the 5-drop Bonney, which we're playing 2 copies of to get the draw 2, trash 1. We're just hard drawing the deck that we want and hopefully finding the pieces that we need. So I don't know if I would ever play this 50 for 50. It just seems like there is some times where the consistency can be a bit of an issue, but I think this is a really cool build. I'm happy that they took it, and it's cool to see a different build of Bonney do so well in such a large event, especially for the first weekend of this meta as well. So not much more to say, but congratulations to Giovanni for their finish with Bonney. All right, next up, we got Kalgara. So this is the build from Stefano. Was able to get a top 8 finish, and I know a lot of people have been really interested in playing this deck in general. This is also probably what I'm going to be playing on stream today as this video comes out, so be sure to look out for that on my own builds and experiences with it. But we just got a lot of great cards, and generally speaking, we just got some better 2Ks for this deck, right? The fact that we got some 2Ks that also we don't mind playing on board, right? This Wiper being a 6-drop 7K that's also a 2K body is really, really nice. It's also Shandian Warrior, which is good for some additional searchers as well. We've got additional names of Kalgara, right? So we've got 5-drop Kalgara, being able to get that extra draw once per turn. You can't stack these effects, but you can use it for 1 extra draw turn is already, I think, starting to be enough. We are also playing the Kuma in this deck. This card is just fantastic, especially in a deck that wants to be so low to the ground on your life a lot of the time. Just being able to play a card and then heal one is super duper good, right? Sometimes they're kind of extra copies of the Nolan, so that helps you for that, and also the fact that it has counter. We've got the Althor, the Red Hawk, the Earth will not lose, and then the Upper Yard. So generally the cards that we're expecting: Zeus, Holy, Ohm, and then we're also not playing the new Searcher for this deck. I know that's a card that's able to find Norland, but I think in general Noland and also Kuma just gets you the amount of heal that you need already, and you don't really need that extra searching as much as I'd say a couple metas ago, right, where we are really, really actively trying to find this card more consistently. But now that we've got all of these other searches, we don't really need it at this time, so it's not as needed, I think, in this build in general. So it's a really cool build. I definitely am going to test it out myself. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's looking like, and this is the build here from Stefano. Congratulations for their top 8 with Kalgara. Next up, we've got Rob Lucci. So this is the build here from Mirko, and Rob Lucci just will refuse to be the worst deck in the meta, right? I think it's very consistently very here in a lot of decks. Just have to be aware of how much removal that Lucci has, right? I think that the idea of the deck having so many different counters for the deck, the fact that I don't really know exactly the best way for this deck to play against Zoro specifically too, but we do know that Uta and Black Vortex, 2 cards that are really relevant for being able to interact with the deck positively. We've got the Cobra as well. I've been seeing this this blocker pop up more often. The fact that you just get 2 trash 1 from the top of your deck and just another blocker is really, really good. We've got our other consistency pieces. We've got Rebecca, Shirahoshi. We've got our 4 Dawn reduction. We've got the Kuzan as well as the Laboon, and then top end we're playing the Jack as well as 2 copies of the Kuzan. So my only thing with this deck is that this deck kind of revolves around finding this card and playing it. And you just don't really have a consistent way of doing so right now. There's just so many ways for you to like miss out on the card or mill it, or you're at 10 and you don't see it. And it's just kind of unfortunate. Or sometimes even when you are at 10, you don't have the time to play a 10 drop. You need to play like a Rebecca blocker or try to get some other removal. And it's really, really tough, I think, to get that consistently. But when you do get the 10 drop on the board, I don't think most decks outside of Red Rock users can really consistently get rid of this card at the same time. So not much more to say, but this is the build for Lucci, and congratulations to Mirko for their top 8 finish there. And then to wrap up our top 8, we do have Zoro, and I do know that I talk about this deck a lot, right? This is just kind of the default in my mind. I don't think it's the best deck in the format, but it's the deck that a lot of people are playing, and it's the deck that you kind of have to respect in a lot of ways. And I think that into this meta compared to like maybe Japan's start of OP12, there's a lot of respect for Zoro going into this format, especially with Blue Purple Luffy not as relevant as it used to be in Japan's OP12. So I will say for this build, Zoro's builds are just generally really like just scenarily like 4 copies of this, the ways to find that card, and this support to play like Dead Man's Game and a couple other events. Zoro doesn't have like a lot of diversity, I feel like, in how it builds, and just because the deck is just really linear and what it needs to do and how you get your rewards for this deck, right? You want to be able to play out, you want to interact with their board, you get a removal, you pressure their leader every turn, and you just say, well, 8k to face is really, really good. You need double 2ks or a Gum Giant or something like that to get out of that, and I can just keep doing it with very little resources, or really big consequences at the other side too. So I don't have a lot to say about this build. I think it's pretty solid. I think the only like real add that I want to mention is that Zoro at 3. This is really, if you're expected to find the mirror match, this is really good in that mirror match because your opponent can't really get rid of this card. And then also Electrical Luna. I think this is definitely a tech add, but I think this has been a really successful tech in a lot of different builds for the deck. And I think that it's in any build that I play Zoro right now, I'm definitely playing a copy or 2 of this card. I think that's really strong right now, especially if you're kind of greedily taking your life early. You're able to just kind of get one extra turn that maybe your opponent's not expecting. So not much more to say. Congratulations to Mattia for their finish with Zoro and getting it into the top 8 there. So the rest are top 16 and top 32, including this blue and purple Luffy. So this is Sven's version of the deck. I think this is the only top 16 deck that we're going over today, but this is running the Doflamingo package in this deck. And I've seen a lot of different packages for blue purple Luffy in this meta, right? We lost the Katakuri and the Linlin for this deck, and so people are trying to find out the best way to kind of adapt to it. And I think that this build is really interesting and one that I want to definitely try out myself. So clearly it's just that Rosonante is a great card. The fact that we get 2 Dawn every turn as long as we have 7 or more is fantastic. The fact that it's a draw 2, discard 1 event is really good too, since we want to play a lot of events already in this deck. We want to play Gear 2 Giant. A lot of people are attacking in Judgment of Hell too, specifically for the Zoro matchup and many others. And then we do also have like the Thunderbog with the removal, right? So you're not even feeling that bad about playing the Rosonante. And then on top of that, we do have the 8-drop Doflamingo, right? So this is not a blocker, right? This is less good than I think specifically Linlin and Katakuri, but the fact that you can use this to play into Rosonante is really, really strong. We also do have the backup copy of like 8-drop Luffy, which has just been a generically good card, I think, in this meta in general. And we just have like a lot of ways to just generate value. And I think the only difference between blue purple Luffy now and how it used to be is that you just can't go down to 0 life as easily as you can. Since there's no healing accessible to Luffy right now, you want to kind of stall out at 1 life if you can, just get all your advantage and just never take that second hit, because you know that once you get that hit go down to 0, that you have to really be aware that you could lose at any moment. So I think this is a cool build. I really want to see what kind of build of blue purple Luffy kind of dominates in the end, right? I think there's been like a kind of standard more package with like Mihawk and like sometimes even Kyros. We've got this Doflamingo. I have also seen like a Navy package one that got a top 32 finish at Carta Magica. So there's a lot of different ways to build this deck. I think this deck will still be super viable, and there's just going to be an interesting kind of twist on what's the best way to play it moving forward. So this is the build here from Sven, and congratulations for their finish with blue purple Luffy. Next up, we've got Kuzan, and we've got 2 builds in the top 32. We've got Nicola as well as Guglielmo's version of the deck as well. And I will say that Kuzan doesn't have a lot of build diversity, and I think in its decks right now, there is kind of like the decision of one. Do you want to play Aramaki? I've been hot and cold about this card. I don't know if it's really worth it all the time. It is a great blocker, and then also you have some chances to really make this like an 11k without really using any resources, so that's very, very strong, but it can be a little bit clunky. And then also for playing like 4 copies of Sakazuki or 3, I think this is the card that a lot of people are like, I don't know if it's a 4 of or 3 of, right? I think Kuzan is definitely like super good as a 4 of, but not necessarily Sakazuki at that time too. Cavendish, if the card is worth it, right? The draw 2 discard 1 is super strong in this deck too. If you play this card on curve, you're feeling good, and then if you're not, then you feel like it's behind. So but then you just have like a discard for you in like the later game as well, to get kind of more of your effects online. So I think there's like some minor differences in like how to build the deck and what you want to do with it. But in general, like the end game is almost always the same, right? You want to be able to play Garp on curve. If you have enough time to play a second one right afterwards, you definitely do it. You get these kind of 8k pressures. You don't run out of card draw as often, and these kind of pressure your game just by your tempo and value that you get, right? The deck is a little bit linear as is too. So like if you have a way to beat it, you will consistently beat it, because I don't think there's that much variance in how Kuzan works. But I think the deck is in a really good spot, and I'm not surprised to see a top 32 finish in this event too. So this is the builds here. Congratulations for their top 32 finishes. The next we got green purple Luffy. So this is Federico's build of the deck here. We do got a good amount of text, I think, in this build too, right? The main package of green purple Luffy I think is pretty solid. We did get like a specific tech for the card with the Dead Man's Game as well, but we do have some unique ads for this one. So we do have the Judgment of Hell we've kind of mentioned in blue purple Luffy, but this card is pretty good right now for getting out of like 2 attacks for 2 Dawn, especially kind of pressuring like a Zoro leader. If they try to go 8k into your 6k leader, you can use this to make them a 5k for the turn. So even if they do restand, they have to, they can't get over your 6k base leader with after your green purple Luffy effect. So I do think that's been pretty strong for it. I've seen a couple people play a copy or 2 of this Brochette Blow. The fact that you're able to be like, it's like a gamma knife, right? It's more specific, but it's also searchable by anything that searches Straw Hat Crew. So that's just infinitely more accessible as is. The fact that it also gets you a card draw, and I think like in this deck, like the -3k power and the -5k power is about the same, right? Like you generally get the same amount. It is like more expensive though too, so it can be impactful. But I think the way that the fact that you have a way around like an 8-drop kid or something is good. And then we also are playing like the 2 copies of Electrical Luna as well. So pretty bulky with how many events we're playing in this deck, right? We're only playing 29 characters, so we do have to be careful about what that kind of looks like. But I think green purple Luffy is still in a safe spot. It's been interesting to see people kind of change the build a little bit in the last couple weeks, and this is Federico's version of the deck here. And then last we've got Shanks. So this is GARIONS build of the deck, and most builds of Shanks that I've been seeing do well do not run any of the new star deck cards, right? And so it's interesting to see this one be able to get some success with some of them as well. So the 2 cards we're playing are the 4 copies of the Uta. It's such a shame this card is not searchable as a Red Here Pirates card, right? Like I get like Uta's not part of the pirate crew, but the deck really wished it had like a better like searcher for this card, because otherwise you just have to draw it. But if you have a character with 10k power or more and this doesn't have base power, you can play this for 2, right? You can reduce the cost by 4, and then it's a 4k blocker with that's technically a 6 cost, so stuff like Usohachi doesn't get rid of it inherently, so that's pretty good. We're playing like more of like the Luffy Rush aggressive package, so we're playing 1 unblockable Luffy and 3 of the Luffy from Star Deck 21. We've got a removal with Backman and Silvers. We've got the 9-drop Shanks as well, being able to play this and make your leader plus 2k. Some decks do play a lot of cards with like 8k base power or more, but there are some decks that just strictly do not either. So it's kind of difficult to see if there's, how consistently across the matchups that you are able to play this for 6 Dawn instead of the 9. But I think being able to play it for 6 is really strong. We do also play like the 10-drop Shanks. We're playing the Divine Departure, 2 copies of Red Hawk, which I think this card is above averagely good right now, especially since we have access to Shanks. Not only do we have ways like if we have it stuck in hand to get rid of it, but if we leave 2 Dawn open, we can use this effect in conjunction with our leader effect to get rid of a 7k power or less card, which is insane on the defense, I think, in a game like this one. So, as well as get out of an attack. So, other than that, I think Shanks is in a good spot. I'm probably going to be doing a test stream with this in the next couple of days too. And congratulations to GARIONS for their finish there. But that's going to be my video for this one. If you guys are, again, new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for this game, and I want to keep at it. I want to have more deck lists, and this is just the first weekend for this event, or for this meta. There's, I think, a lot more on the horizon. There's a lot of decks that I know people are still working on, and it's been cool to see what this meta develops for already. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.